So, here's what's actually happening right now. And it's honestly hard to believe we're seeing this unfold in real time. President Trump decided to wage war in Iran. A full military operation with Israel called Operation Epic Fury. And it's not just failing strategically, it's shattering his own party from the inside. The same Republicans who rode to power on his coattails are now publicly breaking with him. His speaker is contradicting him. Senate leaders are under pressure. And the whole thing is happening while oil prices are soaring past $100 a barrel. Tariff lawsuits are piling up by the thousands. And the Supreme Court itself is fracturing over how to handle it all. This isn't just a political story. This is what happens when a president's gamble goes sideways and his own team has to decide. Do we stick with the mission, or do we admit the mission was a mistake? Let me fill you in on what's been going down. Back in early March 2026, literally just days ago, President Trump made a call. He was going to back a full-scale military operation with Israel against Iran. Not a limited strike, not a cyber operation. A full war. According to ABC News reporting from March 10th, Trump said the conflict would be very complete, pretty much, and suggested it would end very soon. But here's the thing. Before you actually commit to a war that involves killing people and destabilizing the entire Middle East, you're supposed to coordinate with your own party, with your generals, and with Congress. Trump did some of that, but what he didn't do was think through what happens when gas prices spike. Your base starts abandoning you, and your own speaker looks you in the eye and says, "Mr. President, this isn't what America first means," because that's exactly what happened. And that's where this whole story gets wild. Let me paint the picture of what actually went down. According to House Republicans' retreat notes from March 9th, reported by Politico Speaker Mike Johnson, the guy who's supposed to be Trump's loyal lieutenant, stood up in front of his own caucus and said something that would normally be unthinkable. He said the U.S. shouldn't be nation-building abroad. He said Trump's military operations in Iran were looking more like the kind of foreign interventionism that Republicans have claimed to oppose. Think about that for a second. The Speaker of the House, Trump's hand-picked speaker, essentially calling out Trump's war strategy in front of his own conference. This wasn't a private conversation. This wasn't off the record. According to reporting from Yahoo News and multiple outlets covering the GOP retreat, Johnson made these statements publicly, knowing full well that it would create headlines. Why? Because he has members of his caucus freaking out. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Trump didn't just let that go. According to sources tracking these conversations, Trump's people started pushing back hard, suggesting that if Johnson wasn't fully on board with the operation, maybe he shouldn't be speaker anymore. That's not a suggestion, that's a threat. And suddenly, every Republican is forced to do the calculus. Do I defend my speaker? Do I back Trump? Or do I try to split the difference? Now, before we go any further, let's be real for a second. What we're seeing right now with Johnson isn't new. This is the exact pattern Trump has repeated with almost every ally who's ever worked for him. Look at Jeff Sessions. Back in 2017, Sessions was Trump's attorney general. Loyal guy. But the moment Sessions recused himself from the Russia investigation, which, by the way, he had to do legally, Trump turned on him, called him an embarrassment, said he was weak. Sessions tried to defend himself, but it didn't matter. The moment Sessions did something Trump didn't like, he was out. Then there was Bill Barr. Barr came in as Attorney General and Trump loved him. Barr was aggressive, protective, willing to go to bat for Trump on investigations. But when Barr said, in March 2020, that the 2020 election wasn't fraudulent, Trump went nuclear. He attacked Barr on television. He called his Justice Department corrupt. According to reporting, Trump considered firing him, and eventually Barr resigned. The pattern? Extreme loyalty required, or you're attacked publicly. Then there's Mike Pence. Pence was the ultimate loyalist. Vice president for 4 years. But when January 6 happened, and Pence refused to overturn the election results, which he legally couldn't do anyway, Trump literally turned against him in real time. During that day, Trump was tweeting attacks on his own vice president, while rioters were chanting "Hang Mike Pence." After that, Pence tried to stay loyal to the party, but he's been essentially frozen out of Republican leadership. And just last year, we saw Kevin McCarthy. McCarthy was Speaker, Trump backed him all the way. But when McCarthy started trying to actually govern and work with Democrats on a budget deal, something any speaker has to do, Trump got frustrated. He started suggesting McCarthy wasn't tough enough. Eventually, McCarthy was removed as Speaker. So, this thing with Johnson? It's not new. It's the same pattern repeating itself. Trump demands absolute loyalty, but the moment someone has to do their actual job, which sometimes conflicts with what Trump wants, they become an enemy. So, what exactly is going on right now? Why is Johnson in such a tight spot? Here's the situation. Trump wants to continue this war in Iran, according to U.S. news reporting from March 6. Trump met with top defense contractors, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and others, and told them to ramp up weapons production. He literally signed an executive order telling defense companies to prioritize munitions over shareholder profits. That's how serious he is about this operation. He's pouring resources into it. He's politically invested in it, and he needs his party unified behind it. But here's the kicker. The war is not going the way Trump said it would. Oil prices have skyrocketed past $100 a barrel. That's the highest since 2022. According to CBS News reporting, gas prices are spiking, inflation is, and Americans are starting to blame the administration for rising costs at the pump. CNN reporting from early March indicates Trump has been telling people the conflict will be over very soon, but military sources suggest it could drag on. And meanwhile, Al Jazeera's reporting shows that over 1,300 people have been killed in Iran, with ongoing missile exchanges and no diplomatic off-ramp in sight. Now, what does Johnson have to deal with? He's the Speaker of the House. He's supposed to pass budgets, pass legislation, and keep his party united. But his party is fracturing, according to Politico's March 9th reporting. House Republicans are divided between those who want to focus on economic messaging for the midterms. You know, working families, tax cuts, affordability issues, and those who are pushing Trump's legislative priorities like voter ID, laws, and the Save America Act. The party can't agree on what message to send voters. That's a mess. And if that wasn't enough, there's the tariff situation. According to Newsweek reporting from early March, Trump faces an avalanche of lawsuits from corporations and states because the Supreme Court struck down his tariff authority in February. Companies are suing for refunds of over $130 billion. The Court of International Trade is handling thousands of cases. There are legal arguments still being made about whether Trump exceeded his authority. That's a complete disaster for legislative momentum, and it's sucking oxygen out of the room. Johnson's in an impossible spot. If he fully backs Trump on the Iran war, he's risking Republican members who think it's a disaster and who are worried about gas prices hitting their districts before the midterms. If he pushes back on Trump, he's going to get attacked and possibly face a coup attempt against his own speakership. There's no good option. Here's where things get really interesting. Johnson isn't the only one breaking ranks. According to reporting from Raw, story and digital media outlets tracking Republican messaging, there's a deeper, messy internal brawl happening right now. Senate Minority Leader John Thune is under intense pressure from Trump-aligned senators who think he's not moving fast enough on Trump's priorities. Meanwhile, traditional Republicans are arguing that the party should focus on economic issues, not foreign wars or culture wars. And it's not just policy disagreements. According to Newsweek's analysis of the Republican realignment matrix, the GOP is experiencing a structural fracture between populist MAGA activists and institutional conservatives. Think tanks are split. Party operatives are taking sides. People who were allies 3 months ago are now arguing publicly about the direction of the party. But here's the real damage. It's showing up in retirements. According to Politico reporting from March 9th, multiple House Republicans have announced they're not running for re-election. Why? Because they look at the division, they look at the infighting, they look at the fact that the party can't agree on basic messaging, and they decide it's not worth it anymore. When people start leaving, that's a sign of institutional dysfunction. That's a sign of a party losing faith in its own leadership. Now, let's talk about what's happening in the courts, because this adds another layer to the crisis. According to NBC News reporting from early March, Supreme Court Justices Ketanji Brown Jackson and Brett Kavanaugh are publicly disagreeing, which almost never happens, about how the court is handling Trump cases. Justice Jackson is criticizing the court's use of the shadow docket, emergency applications, to rule in favor of Trump policies, arguing it's undermining judicial integrity. Justice Kavanaugh is defending the court's actions. Think about what that means. The Supreme Court is so divided over Trump that justices are breaking with tradition and arguing publicly about how to handle his cases. That's not normal. That's a sign of deep institutional strain, and the specific cases are serious. According to Fox News and legal reporting, Trump's team is in a $16.8 million legal fee dispute in Georgia related to the election interference case. According to immigration law reporting, the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals blocked Trump's attempt to terminate temporary protected status for over 350,000 Haitian immigrants, and Trump immediately asked the Supreme Court to intervene. That case is still unresolved. The legal expert consensus, according to multiple sources, is that Trump's tariff authority is on shaky ground. One federal judge, according to reporting on the tariff cases, essentially said Trump exceeded his authority under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. That's the kind of language that raises constitutional questions. When courts start talking about a president exceeding authority, that's serious. That's the kind of thing that echoes through history. So, what does all this actually mean? Let's break it down into three separate angles. The immediate political fallout, what it means for Republican institutions, and what it could mean for the midterm elections. First, the immediate political damage. Trump is supposed to be the unifying force in the Republican Party. He won the presidency. He should be riding high. Instead, he's got his own speaker contradicting him, his own senators under pressure, his own party fractured, and his policies getting blocked by courts. That's not a position of strength. That's a president who's losing control of his own coalition. According to reporting from the House retreat, Republican members are nervous. They're worried about what this means for their districts. They're worried about their own re-election chances. When members of the president's own party are worried about being associated with him, that's a sign of political weakness. Second, the institutional damage. The Supreme Court has never had justices publicly arguing about how to handle a president's cases. That's new. The House Speaker has never openly contradicted a president's war strategy while serving at the president's pleasure. That's new. Congress is fractured. The courts are fractured. The executive branch is frustrated. These institutions are supposed to function as checks and balances on each other, but they're not supposed to be an open conflict like this. When they are, it suggests that the normal norms of governance are breaking down. It suggests that people are less willing to trust the system and more willing to fight for their individual interests. Third, the electoral implications. The midterm elections are coming. According to Politico reporting from March 9th, Republicans are worried. Strategists are warning that this internal messiness could erode the Republican turnout machine. If Republicans are fighting each other, they're not unified. If they're not unified, they're not going to perform as well as expected. And if Republicans underperform, Democrats have an opportunity to make gains that could swing control of the House. It could impact Senate races, and it could reshape the political landscape heading into 2028. What are they saying? Legal experts are noting something important here. According to NBC reporting on the Supreme Court's handling of Trump cases, even conservative legal scholars have raised questions about whether the court should be intervening so frequently in Trump-related litigation. The argument isn't that the courts should never rule on Trump cases. It's that the frequency and the nature of these emergency interventions are unusual and potentially problematic for judicial independence. On the political side, according to reporting from the GOP retreat, strategists are warning that the party's current trajectory is unsustainable. One Republican strategist, quoted in Politico reporting, said that this level of public infighting, combined with policy disagreements and external legal challenges, creates a situation where the party can't execute its agenda effectively. That's not hyperbole. That's an assessment from someone inside the Republican machine, saying the system is breaking down. So here's the deal. Trump made a bet. He bet that going to war in Iran, with Israel's backing, would be a political winner. He bet that his party would stay unified. He bet that the courts would back his policies. He bet that gas prices wouldn't spike too much. He bet that his own leadership would hold the line. And every single one of those bets is looking like it's going to lose. His speaker is contradicting him. His party is fractured. His courts are getting blocked. Gas prices are up over $100 a barrel. And his leadership is starting to fracture under the pressure. This isn't just about Iran. This isn't just about one policy. This is about whether Trump can still hold his coalition together when things don't go according to plan. And right now, the answer seems to be, probably not. The next few weeks are going to be crucial. We're likely to see more Republican defections. We're likely to see more court rulings that constrain Trump's authority. We're likely to see more infighting within the GOP about strategy and direction. And we're likely to see the midterm messaging get even more confused. The stakes have never been higher. The evidence is stronger than ever, and the outcome is completely unpredictable. This is just the beginning.